Will you agree with me, and we have 30 seconds for you to answer, that legacy media is dead? Do you agree or disagree?
I'm not going to say it's dead because I'm holding out hope that it can be resuscitated. But hold on to this moment,
It's
Sean,
dead.
because it's a rarity. Hold on to this for the rest of your life, okay? I am going to agree with you from the standpoint that what was done was inexcusable because it was favoritism in the media and it had no place in it for a presidential election, but especially the left over the last couple of days. They ain't calling balls and strikes, and they're wrong. You're right, and it's your day. Enjoy it.
Man, mainstream media sure is in trouble. Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be taking a look at a whole host of videos looking at the downfall and the delusion of mainstream media following the presidential election in the US. Now, this isn't a US only situation. We see it here in Canada. Take, for example, the presidential election. We had some news networks here showing thumbnails like this, making it seem like it was going to be a very tight race or that Kamala was going to win when Trump actually won by a landslide. But every day since the win, all you keep seeing on the news is, how did Trump win? Why did Harris lose? What did we miss? How did we not see this coming? And it's very plain and simple to everyday people who don't fall for this propaganda, brainwashing ideology that these mainstream medias were trying to push. And as I mentioned, it wasn't only in the US. Take a look at this Global News interview that they had a few days ago, where they brought a Republican on, and this is the reasoning he gave for Harris losing.
Jeff Timmer spent 30 years inside the highest levels of the Republican Party, and he joins us now. Welcome to the show. Thanks so much for joining us. I know a lot of Republicans were celebrating on Tuesday. I understand it may not have been such a great day for you.
No, that's for sure. I'm one of the 22% of non-MAGA Republicans who voted for Kamala Harris this time around, and that means more than 1 out of 5 of people like me did our job. We voted for we think the pro-democracy candidate, the pro-future candidate. Yet the results were surprising. Not that Trump managed to win, but that he managed to win in a fairly decisive manner and achieve a majority of the popular vote exceeding 50%. And that's something that a Republican hasn't done since 2004 and has only done once in the last nearly 40 years. So it was a shock to the system. But it's when you look at some of the underlying factors, I don't think it's surprising to too many observers that Trump did manage to win this election. I think there's a combination of there's the old saying in American politics going back to the Bill Clinton race in 1992 that it's the economy, stupid. And I think that the economy definitely played a role in this. I think the economy gave older, more well-to-do white voters the cover that they needed to kind of mask their xenophobia and sexism. Because they still do play a role, especially with older white voters.
And this, unfortunately, is the rhetoric that they keep peddling and pushing as the so-called Nostradamus of presidential elections. This was his prediction, saying that Harris was going to win.
Who do you think is going to occupy the White House?
According to the keys to the White House, the incumbent Democrats, Harris, the nominee, are down 4 keys. It takes 6 or more false keys to count them out and predict that Donald Trump will return to the White House. That's why my prediction system, with a 40-plus year track record, predicts that Kamala Harris will be a new path-breaking president, the first woman president, and the first president of mixed African and Asian descent, kind of foreshadowing where America's going. We're rapidly becoming a majority-minority country. Old white guys like me are on the decline.
Then when Harris lost, he went on air, and this is the same talking points that he gave the reasoning for them losing.
And we've seen the explosion of some trends that have existed before, but not to this extent. Disinformation. You know, Elon Musk is, I don't know how many hundreds of billions he has. He has been the director of misinformation. 2 billion views of his spreading of disinformation, not just about the economy, but about immigrants, about minorities. We've never seen disinformation at this scale. Next, we have never seen to this scale the agitation of 3 trends that have been very deeply embedded in American history: misogyny, racism, and xenophobia.
And that's a dead horse that these guys keep beating on. It's all identity politics, that she would have been the first black woman or the first woman of color, a female president. Nothing about policies, nothing about the way she's run things, or, you know, that the vast majority of people actually wanted her, even though there was no primary votes. And Stephen A. Smith, from the opening clip, he actually gets into this when he's talking to Hannity. And MSNBC, who's losing money drastically in viewership, even they had a panelist on who expressed all this, saying maybe the Democrats need to start coming back to the center, opening up their ears, listening to other points of view. We're going to watch that clip and then get back into the Stephen A. stuff. So take a look at this.
You've always been sort of the leading edge of where media is going with Politico, now with Axios. You understand the environment so well. How do Democrats, and frankly, how does legacy media need to change the way it thinks about getting information? I mean, a lot of the voters who went out and voted for Donald Trump, that so many people are wondering what happened here, they're not watching, frankly, this show. They're not reading the New York Times. They're not consuming media that way. And the Trump campaign found those voters where they live. So how do Democrats need to change the way they communicate to voters, if you think that's part of the problem?
For sure. I mean, I think all of us have to come to grips with legacy media is just not as important as it thinks it is. It is to you, it is to me. That's a relatively small group of people who rely on us for their information. And you have to go into the world as it is, not as you wish it to be. And basically, the way people get information is shattered into 20, 30 different pieces. And so if you just look empirically at the numbers, Joe Rogan's more important than any of us. He just has a much bigger, hyper-connected audience that listens to his every word. So maybe listen to Joe Rogan and kind of understand, like, what is he talking about? What are the guests that he has on? What are the issues that they care about? Realize that the gravity of right-wing discourse is now taking place on X. It's not Fox. X is what matters. Elon Musk is now, I wrote about this yesterday, arguably the most powerful civilian in the history of the country. He controls information flow. He controls multiple businesses. He has the president's ear. He's going to be in charge of some newfangled organization to gut government spending. We've not seen a person with that kind of clout across those sectors. But where his real power comes from is X. People thought he was an idiot when he bought X because he lost a lot of money. He's got a lot of money. And now he happens to have the most powerful platform on the right, and politics is downstream from information. And there's just a whole new information ecosystem out there. So for us, for you, for Democrats, for Republicans, you have to understand that you now are going to have to basically navigate 20 or 30 different parts of the ecosystem if you want to connect with the American people who vote.
The campaign ended with, you're a racist, you're a Nazi, you're a fascist, a misogynist. Even Barack Obama and Stacey Abrams calling African-American men misogynists and sexist. Stacey Abrams says they're racist. And a lot of what they said was just flat out lies. Kamala told us for 3 years the border was secure. It was not. Everybody knew it wasn't. She said for 3 years that inflation was transitory and denied that we had an inflation problem. She also lied during the campaign, her final argument. She told American women, she told them that Donald Trump's going to sign a national abortion ban. That was a lie. She said Donald Trump will limit your access to contraception. That was a lie. She said that he would ban IVF. That was a lie. She tried to scare seniors and say that he's going to take away your Social Security and Medicare. He promised he would not do it. Benefits went up in his first term when when he was president?
I can't refute it. I can't refuse the fact that the president of the United States, the president-elect, is well deserving of it. It was a romp. It was an annihilation. I know a lot of people are trying to, label it like, what, he won a little bit in a lot of different places. I don't want to hear that. He won, and he won in absolutely convincing fashion, so much so that I think that in light of those results, we have to look at this election as a referendum on the Democratic Party in America, saying we're not feeling where you are. We're not feeling where you tried to go. We want no part of it. We're not having it. And they made their choice, and we all have to accept it. The bottom line is simple. You can look at a lot of things on the right or the left. He talked about the economy. OK, Biden inherited, what was it, like 1.5% in terms of inflation. It ballooned to over 9.1% before it got dialed down a little bit. We looked at open borders. Barack Obama was once considered the deporter in chief because he actually deported more folks than Donald Trump. But Biden comes into office, and the first thing he does, day one, executive order, he opens the borders. And obviously, that created so much tension. And then you look at the culture wars, the identity politics, some of the transgender issues that people were bringing up in terms of individuals transitioning from male to female and wanting to participate in female sports and stuff like that, or sharing the same bathroom as females and all of this other stuff. America said, hey, we're not down for that. We're not going for it. And no matter what you try to throw in our direction, that's not what we're concerned about. We're primarily concerned about the economy. We're primarily concerned about our borders and about being safe. And they voted that way to send that message. And all we've heard over the last couple of days is folks going absolutely bat crazy because the candidate that they preferred to win didn't win. And I just want to take a moment to remind everybody, this is America. Guess what? Sometimes you don't get what you want. But we are known for having intestinal resolve and making sure we're able to march forward and work with whichever candidate ends up being in office and winning, and find a way to work with one another and reach some degree of compromise so we have civility in this country instead of chaos. It's going to be up to Donald Trump to contribute to that, no doubt. But the way I've seen some of the Democrats reacting since Kamala Harris lost, to be quite honest with you, is utterly ridiculous. I'm not going to get into any names, but it's been utterly ridiculous.
Now, I totally agree with Stephen A. Smith there. Trump is going to have to work real hard to get everybody back together. And it's not just there, it's also here in Canada. Pierre is going to have his work cut out for him because these guys, once they get into power, they aren't just the president or prime minister of their party. They're the Prime Minister of Canada and the President of the United States. So they're going to have to work with liberals, Democrats, try to get them, in a middle ground. But to Stephen A.'s point, this kind of behavior, this ridiculousness that he's seeing from the Democrats or the liberals, this isn't because of the election. It's definitely been exacerbated since Trump won, but there's a reason that the page The Libs of TikTok exists. This Looney Tune behavior has been going on for months, if not years. And this is just some of the behavior that we've witnessed since Donald Trump has won.
Now that we're all saying what we're thinking, I'm going to go ahead and say that I think if you voted for Donald Trump, you're ugly. I think you're all freaking ugly, and I think you're dumb as bricks. And I think you're a bigot in every sense of the word, every use of the word. I also not only won't care when all the bad stuff that's gonna happen happens to you, I actually want it to happen to you.
Women who can divorce their husbands, I'm gonna need you to do it today.
I genuinely do want to urge people with ovaries and uteruses and women and anyone assigned female at birth to not look at men, not talk to men, not entertain men, not look for validation in men, not center their world and their being and their appearance and their thoughts around men, and look for men and up to men on what they should think and what they should decide, because it's clear that they've never seen us as anything but procreation machines and pleasure objects and dolls.
Y'all, why are y'all Trump supporters? Why? Y'all, I'm scared to go to sleep. I might wake up a motherfucking slave.
And to know that my family, the people who raised me, it's so invalidating. I should not be taking up space, because right now the people who have it much worse than I do are people who don't share the same skin color as me, which is so, like, why are we still judging people on that? Race is a fucking social construct that white people created to make themselves feel good about the dehumanization of other people. What the fuck, man?
And that is just a small fraction of the craziness that's been put out since Trump won. But as always, I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think about all this? Have you been witnessing all of this crazy behavior going on online? I mean, I even saw a video just the other day of this woman going as far as buying the outfit from The Handmaid's Tale and walking around outside wearing it. Like, these people are absolutely insane. But as always, this is just my opinion. Love to hear from you guys. And as always, I will catch you guys on the next one. Thanks so much.